Hi everybody, welcome to another video here at Abraham's Table Farm. We are on the first full week of April. It's April 3rd right now, and as you can see behind me, we've got snow. Lots of snow came in the last 2 days. Not exactly a surprise here in Minnesota, so we are not befuddled too much. We were able to get a planting in the ground over in some of these beds right before the snow hit, and so that's good. It's getting watered in as the snow melts, and those things will be germinating soon after that. We always get some snow in April, so we're a little bit prepared. All it means is that we pivoted to other projects. There's always tons of projects in the spring to do. We got to build another pasture pen. We're upgrading all of our pasture coops. There's seating in the greenhouse to be done. The wash stand has some upgrades that we're liking to repair and fix and put together. So there's plenty of other things to stay moving on under roofs or out of the snow, and that's what we're pivoting to. But a little bit annoying and definitely not what we want to see this time of year. We want to see warm weather and springtime. But that'll be coming soon enough. Over the course of April, everything does change from snowy and cold in March to very nice in May. So we'll be making that change over the next couple weeks, and you can stay tuned for that. But other than that, on the farm these days, there's just not a lot of change happening. A lot of tiny plants that get a tiny bit bigger. A lot of projects with little details being ironed out. Not a lot of drama, not a lot of excitement, not a lot of hubbub. Everything takes little steps forward at this time of year. But we know from experience that those little steps are super critical. You cannot have the harvests, you cannot have all the growth, you cannot have all the food that comes later in the year if you don't go through the seedling time and the baby chick time and the tiny, insignificant little steps first. And that's the case for everything in life. If you want to make a change, you got to start with tiny, tiny little steps at the beginning that don't feel very important or valuable. So we're enduring that. We're trying to stay true and stay faithful in these early spring weeks. And I will go show you what's going on the farm, and you can see for yourself the incremental changes. The only other thing that's happening here on the farm that we like to take advantage of is the woods at this time of year are still pretty open. Nothing is leafed out, and that's a great time to knock down brush and to cut new trails or paths or clear out spaces if you want to do any of those kinds of projects. Once it all leaves out, you can't really see what you're doing in there very well, and the bugs start to come out, and it just is not nearly as good. So we've been cutting some trails on our property, and I'm going to show you that today. There's a trail going all the way out to our creek, Bear Creek, which is down on the end of our property, and we've been having fun trekking out to those wild corners of our property and making paths through the woods. So I'll show you that after I show you the chickens and the greenhouse and the high tunnels. But let's go start with the high tunnels and what's growing in the garden, and then move out from there. One really exciting thing is that inside our high tunnels, a couple of them have spinach growing. It's pretty big, it's harvestable, it's really succulent and great. This is spinach that was our last planting last fall. We had it under row cover in these tunnels where it stayed alive just barely. A lot of the leaves became nasty and frozen. But then in the springtime, it starts to shoot up again and grow. So we're harvesting from these. There's spinach in the store. Go place your orders now if you want to get some really, really fresh, delicious greens. We love these early plantings because it's the first fresh green thing that you can get, and it's a lot better than what's in the store. They won't last super long. They will start to bolt, set up flowers, and set seed as pretty quickly in the springtime as the days lengthen. But for a little while, we'll be able to get some great spinach out of them. Then there will probably be a lull before the first plantings come in, and we'll start having greens regularly by May sometime. So get these while they last. They won't last forever, but it's really fun to have them here in these high tunnels where you can see we've got row cover just laid on top of the beds. These beds are planted with some new plantings, and then we've got the old spinach plantings over here, and we've got 2 tunnels like this. So it's fun to get these early plantings in now that the weather is starting to turn for us. Let's go see the greenhouse. Here we are in the greenhouse. As you can see, the wall's been pushed back. It's filling up with plants. It's a really nice place to hang out when it's sunny like today. Outside it's blinding with all the white snow, but the sun is also still strong at this time of year. So when that sun is out, this place warms up really nicely and it's a pleasant place to be. Lots of little green things coming up. One problem we've run into is that we have mice digging up some of the seeds in our flats, so we've got mouse traps set for them. But otherwise things in here are looking pretty good. Just the other day we almost ran out of propane. It got down to almost empty and the furnace was having trouble lighting. We were able to get it refilled that day, but really close call with refilling the propane, and that was just a lapse in us checking the tank regularly enough. But a lot of critical stuff happening in this greenhouse now, and this is what allows us to get a good start on the season. Transplanting is a really important thing that we do here on the farm, because as you can see outside it's snowing. It's still too cold really to put things out. If we weren't transplanting, we'd be waiting and waiting and waiting to get things started. But in here we can get things started several weeks in advance, get up to 4, 6, 8 weeks, even more than that sometimes, pot them into bigger pots so that we have plants that are a month or 2 months old going into the ground as soon as the weather permits it. Instead of starting when the weather permits, we can start way in advance. So this greenhouse is really critical. Keeping it warm is really critical, and it allows us to just get a longer harvest season for you guys. And it's one of the great perks about being a small farmer and a market gardener, is having a little greenhouse in the Minnesota spring. We like to just hang out in here. Megan and I had our date on those chairs the other day because it's green. There's not a lot of green out there right now. But yeah, everything in here is going fine. It's just humming along. Let's go see the tomato plants in the basement now, and we'll see the chickens and head on out of that. Okay, here I am in the basement with all of our tomato plants and some pepper plants. Basically the things that really want more warmth, and the things that are really, really important crops to us are in the basement right now, rather than out in the greenhouse where there's a little cooler temperatures and a little more fluctuation. So tomato plants are all down here. They're getting a little bigger. As you can see, these are the top fruit stock, and the root stock, which are down here a little bit bigger. But in the next week, we will be grafting those, and I'll try to make a video of that. Basically, we cut off the tops of all of these and graft them onto all of these. And that creates a single tomato plant that has really robust, vigorous, disease-resistant roots, and then a top that is very productive of flavorful, uniform, luscious fruit. So combining the two, you get the best of both worlds, and that's what our tomato plants are. So we'll be doing that next week. It's a kind of a miracle. It's very crazy to me that it works, that you can just cut off the top of a plant and stick it onto another plant, but it works. So we'll be doing that in the coming week, and these plants, not a lot of change week to week. They're very small and they grow slowly, and it feels like insignificant stuff, but every tomato everywhere starts as a tiny plant like this. And so we got to go through this phase of very slow growth. And again, thankfully we can do this early in the season in a greenhouse, under grow lights, whatever it takes, so that when the weather does finally turn, we've got 8-week-old plants that we can pop in the ground and get to harvesting as soon as possible. So they're doing well for now, and I'll show you that grafting process next week. Okay, here I am out in the woods. This is a perfect time of year for cutting back brush, and for the last week, we as a family, Megan and I and the girls, have spent a lot of evenings out here after work and before dinner cutting trails. So it's hard to see with the snow on the ground, but we've cut a trail through the woods, and it goes from the west side of our pasture all the way out to Bear Creek, which is on the back of our property. We don't spend a lot of time out in these woods most of the time because there's so much underbrush that it is really dense to get through in the summer. But in the winter, we can walk in here a little bit better. And in the spring and fall, after the leaves come down, you can get through pretty nicely. So cutting trails and opening up the ground a little bit is going to allow us to come back through here in the summer when normally it would be fairly impassable. The bugs also pick up in the summer, which makes it a little less pleasant in the woods. But hopefully, if we keep a nice wide open trail, we'll have easy access to getting back to the creek, and that will afford a lot of fun and play for the girls. So we're taking advantage of this leafless time when there's no bugs to come out here with chainsaws and brush cutters and loppers and chop our way through the underbrush. And so far, it's working out great. We've got a trail, like I said, from the west side of the pasture all the way back through to the marsh, which I'm coming up on now, and I'll show you. We're out on the marsh, and this might be difficult to get through in the summer when it's soft, but we're hoping if we make a path, we can keep it going. Let's go see the creek, which is just in the middle of this. This is actually all on our property. There's a huge open area, but we don't come out here very much because the woods are just so dense between the pasture and the farm and that end of the property and this side of the property. But now we're cutting our way through. Okay, I'm out in the middle of this open marsh area, and you can see this is Bear Creek. This creek goes all the way through the western side of our property. It bends around and crosses the road actually at the beginning of Bear Lane. If you've ever come out to the farm, you've passed over Bear Lane on your way up our road. But this is the creek. It flows all through our property, and it's kind of fun. There's a big beaver dam down there that we explored the other night. And there's some cool trees that lean over to the creek that you can climb on that are pretty cool. And right now it's fun to come out here because, like I said, no bugs, temperature's fine, and it's flowing. We'll see how it is in the summer. It might be really buggy and uncomfortable, and all this grass will be, as tall as me. Right now it's just blindingly bright because of the snow and peaceful. So that's not really part of the farm, but it is something we've been up to recently and taking advantage of this particular moment in the season to hack back all that brush. And we're doing that around the property in some other areas as well, just cutting back that growth in the ditches and stuff like that before the growth really gets going and takes off and gets out of control. But not a lot of change, still a slow buildup at this time early in the season, and we're going to see a huge shift in April. You'll see if you pay attention to the videos over the next couple weeks. We're going from this dead, barren, blinding white snow, the last of it, to warm days and green popping out everywhere, and that will be a fun transition to see. So stay tuned. Make sure you shop the store this week. We've got spinach, as I said. We've got tons of eggs. We just sold out of chicken feet, but we've got whole chickens, parted up chickens. We've got beef in there. There's still plenty of products, so make sure you get those. And if you want to be signed up for a CSA this year, go ahead and do that. It's pretty full. It's not entirely full yet, but we've got a lot of signups so far. And put credit on your account. And like I've said before, the eggs are moving quickly, and so if you want to be consistently getting eggs, please put a subscription on the eggs so that you're getting a reoccurring order. And that lets us know that you want them, lets us set them aside for you so that you'll always have those eggs. But otherwise, sign up for the CSA, place an order this week, and we will see you at the drop sites. Come some dogs. There are probably some girls behind them. See you later.